How are you doing?
Be able to present tonight with a group or have their group present, please be seated. We're going to go ahead and get started because it is 5:31 and we want to maximize the most time that we have so that everyone can be able to present each table. Okay? We good? Okay? You're going to be seeing and hearing a lot from me and Council President Randy Helms tonight. He is your councilman for this district, so we're happy to have him. I also want to recognize a special recognition to District 20. They were so gracious to welcome us in this space. And Liberty is a school that is about the community. And so I'm so happy to have you in this building tonight. Next week we'll be at another high school, so that's important as well because we know schools are the heart of our community. So I'm so happy you were able to come to Liberty. And I'm going to turn it over to Councilman Randy Helms to introduce a very special attendee tonight.
Thank you very much, Courtney. Good evening, everyone. I would say it's a beautiful day out there, but you know what? Every time we get rain, that's a good thing. So I'd like to make some opening remarks about District 2 and the city, just to give you a perspective. So I first came to Colorado Springs way back in 1975. And I was here as a cadet at the Air Force Academy, so I did not get to see a lot of Colorado Springs for the first couple of years, but then I did. Later on, I came back to teach at the Air Force Academy in the late 80s, and that's where we bought our first house in District 2 in the Briargate area. So we had a home in Briargate, and our two small children went to Frontier Elementary School. And that plays a part later because after I retired from active duty, we set our sights on coming back to Colorado Springs, and we did. And I finished my work working at the Air Force Academy, and then I decided I wanted to substitute teach because I liked teaching. So I was a substitute teacher in District 20, and I had the opportunity to substitute back at Frontier Elementary School down in the Briargate region, where my two children, younger children, had gone. And I spent a little over a year substitute teaching in the different, all K through 12. I substituted at Liberty High School, Discovery, Canyon School System, and multiple elementary and middle schools. So I say that because it gave me a chance to reach out to the community, and it also made me decide I wanted to run for city council. A friend of mine who had been the city councilman for District 2, Larry Bagley, had also been an Air Force Academy grad, and he encouraged me to reach out and run for District 2, and that's what I did. And I do that to represent this whole community. And as you know, by the way, anybody here from this Briargate community? Anybody? Okay, good. So you know what I'm talking about when I talk about John DeMeza Park. You know what I'm talking about. 2.5 years ago, when I was first elected, I found out that in the Briargate community, only 75% of the homes we're paying the special Briargate special improvement tax for the district. And the other 25% we're not paying. Now, it was only $100 a year, but what that was doing was keeping some of the meetings. Eric, Eric, he's outside of the table. Carlos, where's Carlos? Carlos and a citizens committee put together, to help put together, and then I helped pass what was then issue 6B. And issue 6B stopped the Briargate Special Improvement District tax that only 75% of the homes are paying. And then you passed that in the November of 21 election, so that now 100% of the homes in Briargate pay that $100 a year to better take care of the medians and all the areas out there. So that's just one example of District 2, how we're making it better. And as all of you know, up farther north, in the Northgate area, where we have Topgolf, Polaris Point, and we have the fifth and final City for Champions project, the new visitor center being built there at the Northgate of the Air Force Academy, which I take great pride in. And that, along with the hotel, will be done in the next year and a half. And so that will be an attraction, not just for our local community, but think about that. All over the country, as people come here to visit Colorado Springs, they'll visit the Northgate community because of the visitor center there. But all the areas that we have here, whether it's Northgate, Greyhawk, Flying Horse, the farm, Briargate, you name it. I look at our whole region as being very unique. And the other thing I'd like to share with you is that tonight, we're here this is a listening tour that the mayor has put together, and me, along with a couple of my colleagues, Brian Risley and David Limeweber, there you are. So they are city council members at large, and obviously I'm here. So we do have some of the constituents coming in with their signs, so we'll see how that goes. But tonight is the listening tour, and for you at the table is to have your discussions, and then we will be around, me and fellow council members will be around to visit each table, and then the mayor will come in at approximately 6:30 to hear the results of each of the tables. I would like to take time, though, to introduce our District 20 Superintendent, Ginger Barber, and have her say a few comments. But again, I just want to say, first I want to thank Liberty High School for putting this on, and the staff and the administration of Liberty High School. They've done a fantastic job in offering this to this area. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ginger, and thank you very much.
Well, welcome, and I just want to say thank you. Welcome to D20. This is the Liberty Lancer land, so thank you for being here. I am so excited that we had an opportunity to host an event like this. I believe strongly in this model of the World Cafe. I was able to partner with the city when I was a superintendent in Washington using this model. I really believe that through dialogue like we'll have tonight, we have opportunities to hear each other's perspectives and have a better understanding to be able to come together as a community. So thank you, welcome to D20, welcome to Liberty, and I'm excited about our process tonight.
Thank you, District Superintendent. So, time. I'm the timekeeper this evening. So it's 5:40, and I need to move along and explain a little bit about World Cafe model and what we'll be doing tonight. Again, I want to thank you all for coming. My name is Courtney Brown, and I'm the City Strategic Plan Analyst. So, this tonight is all about gathering your ideas and your feedbacks and your concerns related to what's happening within our city of Colorado Springs. At your table, you have a facilitator, and they've been talking to you about how the evening is going to go. We need a facilitator facilitator at table 3. Do we have available facilitator? Great. We've got Crystal coming up here, so she will be your facilitator. Thank you. So each facilitator will help guide you through a discussion around 4 topic areas. So at your table, you have a sheet that has focus areas on it. One focus area being economic vitality, the other one being public safety, the other one being public infrastructure, the other one is city services. And you may have a sheet that has it in various different order, and that's intentional. So you all will engage in a discussion around those focus areas for 13 minutes each focus area. And during that time, your facilitator will help guide you into talking through those things. We want to hear your ideas, your suggestions, I call them blows and grows. So that which we are doing well and that which the city needs a little bit of help with, okay? Be honest. If your table decides that it wants to present to the mayor when he gets here at 6:30 on all of, or a few things that you identify within those topic areas, that's what you'll present on, okay? And your presenter is going to have to be succinct. So you're going to have to help that person identify the core issues that you want to have presented. So each table will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to report out. I know it sounds small, like a small amount of time, but really, this is about a whole experience. Because we have found that neighbors engaging with neighbors produce the best results. You may be sitting at your home in your office and have some ideas, but then when you get next to Jim or Sally that live in that same district as you, they have another idea. And that kind of helps you get informed and stay engaged. And that's what this is about, a collective, continuous engagement. So let's say you have this issue that you really want to get heard, and your table decides, I don't want to present on that issue. I still want to hear about it. So there are cards at the table that say take the survey. That is your opportunity to participate in this same type of feedback collection online. Those surveys are going to be open until the 14th of September. Let's say you love this process, and so you want to come again and again and again. So we'll be at Coronado High School doing the same thing next Friday night, so you can come and join me. That's not enough. You can also participate in our virtual listening tour, which will be September 9th. All of this information is on our website. So if that's not enough and you still want to talk, my card is on your table and it's out there, and you can email me, you can call me. Yes, I will pick up and I will respond to you. I've received a lot of calls and emails thus far. I've even recruited a few residents from other districts to join in and help volunteer because they love this process too. So if you like it so much and you want to hang out with me next Friday, please come see me, okay? And finally, if you are now a civic-minded, engaged person and you don't want to stop here, come see me about participating in the Strategic Plan Development Working Group, because that group is going to help me develop the plan after I collect all of this feedback. And then that group will eventually turn into an accountability team to hold us accountable for the strategic plan, okay? So this is all about participation. This format is to gain the most from you collectively, okay? So various options to engage and participate. 1744, which is what? Military people? No, we have a firm stop at 7:30. This is 5:30 to 7:30. That's why you can get a hold of me though. You can email me, call me, or take the survey, all right? So we're gonna get started with our 52 minutes of discussion. That's gonna be broken down into 13 minutes per focus area, okay? So the time, 17:45. Gonna start it now. Go. concludes the end of our discussion round. I hope you guys have enjoyed this portion of the program tonight. Okay? So we are happy to have the mayor here. And what we're going to do now is transition into his formal introduction. And then once that happens and he says a few words, I'm going to explain how the presentations are going to roll out. All right? So I want to allow President Helms here to introduce our mayor.
Thank you very much, Courtney. And again, good evening, everyone. It was, I learned a lot by going and sitting down at the different tables. Believe me, as you know, I heard what you were saying, and I had some comments back to you and everything. So with that, it's a real pleasure and it's an honor for me to introduce our mayor this evening, Mayor Yemi Mobolade. He wants to be called Mayor Yemi. Let me just say that the relationship between the mayor and the city council is always, it's like our U.S. Congress, the executive piece, the President of the United States, People's House, Congress, which is the city council. So we want to work together to make our city thrive. It doesn't mean we'll always agree with everything, but what it does mean, we'll work together to solve our city's issues and problems. And I can tell you, after being at several events with our mayor, it's a real pleasure now to introduce Mayor Yemi.
Good evening. What a great showing. Thank you all for giving up your Friday evening to be here for this important meeting. Thank you, President Helms, and to my other two colleagues. Thank you also for being here. President Helms is right. It is our intent to work together for the good of the city. Just like you, we love this community. Just like you, we care for our neighborhoods, and it's why you're here tonight. I see a number of friends in the house, and for those that I do not know, I look forward to getting to know you. The purpose of this meeting is, from a very early stage of my administration, this new administration, is to ensure that the decisions we are making, the decisions I am making, are informed by you. The things that you care about, the values that you care about, the pain points that perhaps you're experiencing. That's why we're having these sessions. And I'm not doing it in isolation, I'm doing it with my colleagues. And I hope you can see a display of unity, that while we have these two different government branches, it is our intent that we work together on your behalf. I do want to acknowledge my friends out there too, who with the signs. I know you care about this city too, that's why you're here tonight. So thank you for being here as well. We have purposefully designed this in this kind of the World Cafe style of listening for the purposes of, hopefully, as you engage in each one of these tables, there's shared experiences around and commonalities around the issues, and neighbors getting to know other neighbors. So hopefully you make a new friend tonight as well. So at this time, we get to listen, and we get to also provide feedback to you all in terms of what we've heard. Now this is really important for me to say. I'm not here to promise that we can do everything. That would just be foolish. But what I can tell you is that the feedback you give us, I will take to heart. My team will take to heart. Many of them are here tonight, and we will implement your feedback into this next season of our city's history as we are in the middle of our strategic planning process. I want to thank District Superintendent Ginger, there you are. Thank you so much, and to your entire leadership team and Liberty too for having us, and to the team of leaders too that are volunteering their time tonight. Thank you. for being here tonight. So at this point, I'm going to give it back to Courtney.
Thank you. So, are we ready to present? So this is how this is going to go. Each table will be given a minute and 30 seconds to present. You guys, I'm sure, have identified that succinct presenter that's going to speak loudly into the mic and share the ideas that each of you have contributed to. And so, I'm going to come to your table, random order, ask who the presenter is, hand that presenter the mic, and give you a minute and 30 seconds. I will set my phone. When that timer is close to going off, I'll get closer and closer to you. Once that timer goes off, I will need to take the mic. It is nothing personal, okay? And so if you want to fight with me over the mic, I hope that does not happen, because we're going to do this in a respectful, right, collaborative way. But if that happens, we're going to have to cut the mic until we're all ready to re-engage and do it in a respectful, collaborative way. Got it? Okay, so let's start. I'm going to start from the back, right? Because the back member gets to start. So I'm going to head to the back. Okay, I've arrived to the back table. Who is the presenter of this table? You are Jed.
Thank you very much, Mayor Yemi, for hosting that wherever you are. You are okay there. So, really good discussion here. The summary from our table from this last hour. Development and density impacts and response times, as well as instability that causes against our communities. And that's the nutshell of what we've discussed for the last hour or so. I think the biggest case in point study that you can go look at is the amphitheater. So six new apartments, half a mile from this amphitheater that got thrown in there when it was an upscale retail mall. It got retrofitted. Basically, only a few folks were notified of this happening. It's within 1,000 feet that they're supposed to notify. We'd love to see that grow. And then on top of that, there's no noise ordinance. So we have kids that are dealing with this. There's no the walls. There's no surrounding walls. There's no curfew at night, whereas Village Green has curfew. So things like this. Think about the community. Think about what happens. Let's talk to the community before we ram something in that doesn't really belong. Maybe it belongs somewhere else up north. Or out east.
All right.
Ready.
Hey, thank you, Mayor Yemi. Thank you for Councilman Helms for joining us this evening, inviting everyone out to this venue. First and foremost, how many people have moved in here in the last 20 years? See? How about the last 30 years? Great. So, 15 years. Natives, right? So so what I'm trying to convey to you is growth is good. When you're green, you're growing. When you're red, you're rotten, right? And so we had the same ideas that this gentleman just said. By the way, my name is Ed McGuire, and these ladies and Mr. Vito here talked about very much the same thing. So what we like is smart growth. So we're putting in those apartments up by the new North Gate Road, and we're putting up apartments here in the Briargate downtown. What's the plan for the parking? And how can we improve that so we do support the growth infrastructure? Because a lot of that seems to be before the cart has brought the apples in, or vice versa. So growth is always going to be prevalent, especially in a beautiful city like Colorado Springs. It's just doing it smartly and having the plan before it's initiated and started. And so I think with all the growth, there just needs to be a better understanding of how it's going to be supported. That's all. And some of the other things, the water, my wife's on the water. We saw a leak that we've seen leaking out of the ground for 6 to 8 weeks from the utility guys, but it got fixed. And so.
Hi, thank you for having us. So we just have a couple of things. We also agree with the smart growth. Thank you, I love that term. One of the big issues for us is to make sure that there's an egress plan, emergency egress for responding to issues in the neighborhood and being able to leave, especially in the setting of fire. A couple of families here are really dealing with some high density growth in their neighborhoods, but there's only one exit in and out, and it's a real concern. Secondly, response protocols for non-emergency calls. So what's happening to families is that they are getting knocks in the middle of the night by cops over events that happened a week or 2 weeks prior that were a non-emergency call. So and that's very frightening for families and neighbors. So if we could clean up those protocols, that would be great. Thirdly, police staffing must be prioritized. The police are very strained and stressed. This is impacting their ability to handle complex situations. So I know there's a lot of excitement over potentially having a training center, and a lot of money will go into that. We would like money to go into staffing right now for cops. And as an example of how this impacts our community, especially our economic vitality, is that small businesses are the lifeblood of Colorado Springs and our veterans. So.
Great. Thank you, Mary Yemi, Councilman, and everyone for their input. We touched on a few points. Some of them are going to reinforce what you already heard. There was tremendous confidence in our growth from an economic development standpoint. A lot of positive announcements, but we feel much of the city infrastructure is not keeping up with that. On other infrastructure topics, trail improvement for parks, trail improvement, also positive comments about the parks, trail improvement, but also a comment about making sure that there's investment, and the investments change relative to disc golf, which is a rapidly growing sport. On mass transit, there's not a lot of mass transit in the northern part of the city, and we think it's about time that there be mass transit to be able to get and link to the Denver system. From a neighborhood safety standpoint, which is a key obligation, our perception is that there's increased vandalism, petty crime, property crime, shoplifting, cars broken into, and we don't support the police and make sure that we're dealing with the petty crimes, the smaller crimes. Bigger crimes are going to grow too, and that's been shown city after city. Don't tolerate the little things, the big things tend to go down also. And that is the key points we went over. That'll be the time.
10 seconds. Thank you.
Ready to go. I'm not going to sugarcoat. There, we've had developers in the city have taken over, we feel, the growth in this area without system input at the local level. We think that it's ask, don't tell from the city, and we don't like that. That's basically the consensus of our points here. We've seen over the last at least 6 or 7 years, if not longer, Powers Boulevard move south, development, uncontrolled development, all the way up to now north where we're at, and there's no control. We're getting affordable housing, apartment complexes thrown in everywhere, and we just feel that the citizens have no real say in this. Not being critical of the development department people at all, but we need to have better communications, and I really congratulate you on the transparency issue. I think that's very important to the city. We've got to have grassroots level impact on all these things. Public safety. Crime's increased in this area, big time. We got into school system, big time. And we have Ginger here, Pine Creek High School, with all the apartments and affordable apartments going up, is probably going to have 2,000 more students in that area. I don't think Pine Creek High School can accommodate that type of So finally, rezoning, the rezoning thing, when that took place, just the developers, not the community.
Hi, thank you very much for having us and for listening. We appreciate it. We've heard a lot of common themes, and we have pages of discussion for you to read at your leisure. I apologize for my handwriting. But we feel that education of citizens on key services, safety, and development projects is very important. Currently, the onus is on us to weave our way through the city website or to discover little itty-bitty signs on random fences about development projects, and we feel that those types of communications should be pushed rather than on us to find out about. We also feel that we appreciate this opportunity and this solicitation of our feedback, but how are you going to demonstrate that what we say is being taken into consideration and put into part of the process to make things better, or to even just demonstrate that you are hearing us and maybe asking for some things to be changed to better benefit the citizens in an area. We touched on the development of Pine Creek, we touched on the development of the amphitheater, and how we definitely felt left out of that whole process.
Thank you, Mayor Yemi, for coming to visit us. If you look around, I think you can see the signs that all indicate there's a certain sentiment among us in the neighborhood that we have not been listened to. So we do thank you for this. And perhaps for the first time, we do feel there's some sense that our concerns will be addressed. I do want to say that our ambassador has been very generous in giving us that sentiment. With that in mind, I want to start out with essentially a question. With all the high-density apartments springing up in the city at the entrance of neighborhoods never intended to be zoned for high-density developments, what can you, as the mayor, tell us as taxpaying citizens is your plan for safe, deliberate city planning, and why does current city planning not appear to take into account emergency evacuation, planning with updated traffic studies, impact to school enrollment capacity, utilities usage, and strain on infrastructure. I will refer now specifically to the Pine Creek apartment complex in which we have had meetings with the developer and the city planning. And the city plan, or the developer has told us specifically, he's listening to us, not because he has to, he's not obligated, but he's decided he's going to. But nevertheless, at that meeting, he has stated specifically, there's nothing we can say that's going to stop him. That is why we feel we're not being listened to, except for today.
I'll just add to that, because I think there's a theme here. You can tell the development here has just gotten out of control. In our area, Pine Creek, as well as Briargate, there are more and more, if there's a green space, watch out, chances are it will be developed. What we would like is more of a transparent process for all of the community in that area, from all the developers to give heads up notice, not a tiny little sign, to let us know there is a planned development coming up in here, and have citizens talk to it. As he mentioned, the gentleman behind me, we've had 2 sessions with planners. They have not listened to our concerns. We don't feel like our voice is really being heard. And frankly, our representatives haven't heard us as well. It'd be great if Randy would show up to some of those sessions with the neighbors as well. And he's our representative. I would go on with safety. Safety is a big problem. We mentioned it before, very narrow roads. We don't want to have Waldo Canyon again. It helps people evacuate from that area. We don't want to Maui again. Please, we got to think about fire safety. Police now, we're the 4th lowest area for crime. With all this density of apartments, I guarantee you, just the size of the density of people moving in our areas, that crime will increase, and we need more protection. Thank you.
I'm Sandy Bixa, and our table came up with, I will talk about safe neighborhoods. We are short police officers. There are areas of town that are homeless highways, and we're using jails for individuals with mental illness. And with all this high-density housing, you are creating, areas for criminals, and there's just not protected enough. For example, the Royal Pines Apartments, the veterinarian came there and she says, I have enough fentanyl to kill the entire city. And it's all medical buildings, yet they're constructing high-density, low-income apartments where people have access to drugs. The next thing was fire evacuation routes. Our planning is letting developers perform studies at opportune times. Reliable infrastructure. What is, Mayor, is your definition of infrastructure? Apparently it does not include schools, because you are building all these high-density apartments in residential areas and overburdening our schools. Revitalizing, rather than taking every vacant green lot, why not revitalize, repurpose, reuse? Chapel Hills Mall should be the gold standard. It has transportation, restaurants, shopping, and also we felt to expand the airport, bring in more airlines. Economic vitality.
Hi, my husband and I are kind of in a unique position in this district. We have 91 acres in the middle of all of this in Still County. We are surrounded by y'all. And there's a lot of problems just being a county citizen that we are not heard with our problems of stormwater coming onto our property from the neighboring detention pond. We are not heard, we are not even considered in the whole realm of the development. I've been on the property since 1959 when I was born. My grandparents bought it in 1954. I have seen a lot around here. Do I intend to stay on the property forever? Probably not, because all of you are nice, but I like my space. There's a lot of problems that the county enclaves have that are unique, and we are not in consideration of anybody. We have been to city council over the past, and we have been ignored.
Thank you for your time. I'm going to talk really fast. There's going to be some repetition from what you've already heard. We need to address speeding on local roads, especially in areas where school children are present. Some examples, Research, Voyager, and Briargate. Wildfire mitigation support is needed in the community beyond the wildland-urban interface areas. For example, chipping, fire-wise designation, the egress that's been mentioned. We need expansion of resources in the police and sheriff's department to address long call times. Annexation to expand the city when existing needs in the city are not being met seems grossly inappropriate. Development and zoning changes without resident input. We need more resident town halls earlier in the process before decisions are made. For example, the low-income housing in Pine Creek and the Sunset Amphitheater. Poorly thought out development need to address selling the soul of our city versus being a unique destination. As an example, 7 fast food hamburger joints within a half mile of our Protect our green spaces. Colorado Springs residents value our open areas. We don't want the density of Denver. Consider outside the box affordable housing approaches. where you take a live close to work approach. There's an example that the city should look at that Breckenridge did that's really interesting. You wouldn't expect that in that community. Low-income housing doesn't work without the support of public transportation.
Thank you. I'm Randy Howard, and we had good discussion here, some positives. I just want to say that we appreciate the city's infrastructure, the social access to information on the website, things like that. We have some negatives, and one of them is been repeated over and over again here, and that's the high-density housing. We live 50 feet from a proposed 4-story apartment complex looking into our backyard in Pine Creek. It's just inappropriate. Somebody didn't think this through correctly. If it was 2-story affordable housing for senior citizens or something like that, we would be saying amen. But there was no planning, no forethought into this. This is all about a developer coming up with a plan and a lot of money and trying to put it in a place where it doesn't belong. And so I think it's more than just this development. This is throughout the city. We need to not just say anywhere we have a plot of land, we're going to put in the affordable housing, and we need to look at where is it appropriate, whether it's north, south, east, or west. We just need to make sure that it's right for the citizens and that we have input early on to be able to do that. Evacuation is a huge issue there, as we've been mentioning. 1,400 houses and adding another 400 people to try to get out in a Maui-type fire. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Thanks for being here, Mr. Mayor. Steve Parrish, resident of Pine Creek. 2 things we talked about is public safety and infrastructure. The two are intertwined. They are not separate things. Police, fire, and medical have slower response times due to traffic congestion. More traffic congestion due to lack of infrastructure increases safety concerns with regards to emergency evacuation, accidents, and road rage. Overcrowding in schools is a safety concern. So if you keep piling people into schools without building more schools, there's going to be safety concerns at the schools. What should the city do? They should increase the number of dispatchers for fire and police. Build out the infrastructure. Notice that infra, which means below, comes before structure. Before allowing more development, share the plan with residents. This includes roads, power, water, schools, sewer, electric, and telecommunications. I applaud you for taking notes, but are you listening if development continues unabated? Are you listening if you don't respond to emails and numerous calls directly to you? Are you listening if you try to shape the narrative of a listening tour?
Luz Gonzalez here. Thank you everybody for being here. It's like we all make this happen. Thank you, Mayor, for being here. So we spoke about the 3 areas. The first piece being police presence. I think we've heard that from basically just police, fire, making sure that we have enough people. We talked about just calling and you get a response days later, and it doesn't seem like we're having the sort of response that we need. We talked about lighting being an issue, so when you're driving in certain areas of the city, making sure that there's lighting. You were talking about how you don't want your kids to be out past a specific time just because you don't feel like they would be safe. We also talked about some positives. So activated areas, we talked about, Carlos, you talked about how we're having trail rangers, we're having more and more activated areas, which means the more presence that we have of the trail rangers, the more just safe people are going to feel being out on the trails. And we also talked about a positive being COS ready, just having a preparedness plan, being something that is a good thing that we can look to. When we talked about infrastructure, one of the things that we really focused on, and we probably spoke about the most, was transportation. So as we are a growing city, we're thinking about transportation going up to Denver. There's just like the one highway where we're thinking also just multimodal transportation. My mom was here from out of town. She didn't have a way to get around the city, right? There is just like not many bus options. Thank you.
to start by echoing the same sentiment that so many others in the room have already said. I'd like to thank the mayor for coming. We are all extremely happy to have this communication, and we're just worried about responsible development. If we're overdeveloping before we have infrastructure, who is that really serving in our communities? We're extremely concerned about the lack of transportation. If we're going to overbuild in the Pine Creek area, we do not have the room in District 20 schools. Pine Creek already has portables, and they have over 500 additional students this year that are being crammed into those portables. That is not responsible development. We don't have teachers retained enough to be able to allow access to the right after school extracurriculars, and we don't have buses or bus drivers to transport our kids to extracurriculars. So they're falling short of that. We're also concerned on what the city commissioner is actually doing. What is that responsibility? The planning committee, what are they doing? So we'd like to know if our tax private activity bond dollars are going towards these things. We'd like to know what exactly our money is going towards. So we're also extremely concerned about the safety. We need more police, we need more lower response times in our communities. So if we overdevelop in our neighborhood, then how are we going to get the help we need when it's so desperately needed? We're worried about crime. We're worried about our communities just being overwrought with crime. Thank you for hearing us.
Thank you guys for listening, and what an honor, honestly, to sit down with these folks and hear what they're thinking. And we're not saying anything new, so I'm just going to share them quickly. We believe that we need more police response, recruitment and retention, so help in that area. Another one is we need fire, we need a good fire evacuation plan. Yes, we need more infrastructure on that whole plan. And then the other thing that we said is we think the city's doing a great job in economic vitality and drawing people in, but we are in need of planning for good, smart, well thought out infrastructure, and then keeping those people brought here. And also infrastructure needs to, grow with the city, growth. There doesn't seem to be consideration before the growth. So we want to plan ahead and do that.
Mayor Yemi, thank you for coming. You and your staff are doing the hardest thing ever, and that's being an honest listener. I appreciate it. So for safety, the general consensus is that there's a lack of safety feeling. 70 officers short, fire response maybe coming a little bit below. What's the concerted plan to train, more importantly retain them once we do get there? Public infrastructure. Came up with public transportation being the second most costly outlay, especially for single parents. Not a lot of good ways to get from south to north, east to west unless you have a car. That gets expensive, especially as the city grows. It's only going to get worse. How do we become a more robust population without that capability? Economic utility. A lot of military veterans coming in. Not everybody's going to college, mostly because of cost. That doesn't get done. How do we educate these people to become the workforce for the next generation? What are we doing to facilitate that? This city's doing a great job getting jobs, but maybe not educating the people to fulfill those jobs in the local population. And then same thing with the land development. This seems to be a recurring theme here, so everybody's on the same page. We need the infrastructure for the next set of jobs. We beat Alabama out for Space Force. How are we going to do it again? Mental health, though, came in. We do have a population that maybe needs some services built towards them. Just like to see that expanded.
All right.
Thank you, Mary Yemi, for coming up north. I'm Kat Gale. We prioritize public safety and infrastructure, as did most people in the room, but I'm going to touch on we need a diversified economy. We have every single fast food chain in the nation. We have an abundance of car washes, which are great for water, but we don't need so many. We need a diversified economy. We need think tanks. We need high-level Amazon, we don't need Amazon warehouses. We don't need more assembly lines. Back to public safety, there has got to be an intersection of development and evacuation planning. But it's not just evacuation. We also have to have the first responders get into an area in an emergency. If you have one way out, how are the first responders going to get in? West Side Watch has a wonderful plan called evacuation modeling. Zone Haven is obsolete. It's not going to do the trick. We need crosswalks. We need to prioritize pedestrians over motorists. We need fewer cars on the road. That will also help in an evacuation. That will also help in a fire. We don't need more developments without public transportation and access to and from them. We need to increase green spaces to improve mental health, clean air, absorption of water into the aquifer. We need multimodal transportation. We need to avoid fire hazards with structures too close and wooden fences in neighborhoods. Everybody knows for fire prevention, you need to have space, and yet we're building on top of each other. Take LARD up to 10% so we can afford our new infrastructure and make the tourists pay for the roads and trails they use, not us.
Thank you. I think that we covered every table. We have one more left? Okay. You spoke. Yeah.
But our table.
Every table, there are 4 tables that were pushed into one, and that they had one facilitator, and they spoke and represented all their needs, okay?
We were shorted.
You were not shorted, but thank you. So, now we're going to allow Mayor Yemi to speak of what he's heard from you all giving your presentations. We're also going to hear from the councilmen in terms of what they've heard as well.
Okay, that was a lot. That was good. Thank you.
We have a table here that did not speak. Yeah, they didn't speak.
Oh, there's a table that didn't speak?
Yeah, they didn't speak, they said. Who didn't speak?
Which table?
No, they didn't. We clarified that. We clarified. Everyone that did not get a chance to speak that represented a table, can you please raise your hand? Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Courtney.
Sure.
I am hearing a lot of frustration.
Yes. Yeah. Good.
I see it, I feel it, and
It's not your fault.
I know. It sucks. Yeah, it's you're scared. That's a good word. That's a really good word. That's an empathetic word. There's a lot of concerns over your neighborhoods, your families, the future of your city. I even heard a lot about schools. We're out of school, and I didn't expect to hear about that. But here's the biggest thing. If I can summarize what I've been hearing, there's a lot of frustration over the lack of infrastructure to keep up with our growth. There's a lot of frustration about the land development process. There's a lot of frustration with just the needs that you want to see to keep up with the growth. I heard a lot about evacuations. That's also a big one. Fire concerns. Here's what I'm also hearing what you want. Smart growth is at the top of the list. The reality, like, I don't know which one of you has said, how many of you have lived in the last 15, 30 years? And yeah, well, thank you. I mean, in some ways, we're all beneficiaries of a form of growth. And what I'm hearing is that, yes, but we have to ensure that we have infrastructure to keep up with our growth. I heard a lot about transportation too, especially in this part of town. That was very insightful. Here's also what you want. Communication, better communication with city. We've started working on that, and we'll deliver on that. That's a low-hanging fruit. We'll communicate with you better. Not that that's not happening, but perhaps in new ways we can communicate with you in this season. I'm also hearing a lot of infrastructure needs around the need for more police officers to ensure that we are also keeping up with that need and that infrastructure in our city. Know that you have a mayor that wants that too. As you can see, I am fully vested in our law enforcement and our first responders as well. So, yeah, thank you for sharing. I wish I had easy answers for you, but you need to know that I have 3 core values in terms of how I lead, and my team has heard this quite a bit. Value number 1 is courage. Value number 2 is empathy. Value number 3 is humility. So it's courage over comfort, courage to do the right thing. We will make some improvement. I can't promise that every one of your needs will be met. We're a city of 500,000 people. We have a very small budget. The needs are sometimes in tension with each other. Because I also heard the need to train our workforce and the next generation of workers. Space command, yes, we're bringing all these opportunities to our city. Who's going to work these jobs? And by the way, where they're going to live. In my recent meeting I had with General Clark, Lieutenant General Clark, who is appointed to Randy, because Randy knows him very well. He's a superintendent in charge of the Air Force Academy. I also had a meeting with General Van Herk, and he's over the U.S. NORAD and NORTHCOM. And both of these leaders and their command staff, when I asked them, what do you need from your city? What do you need from your mayor? How can we support you? They mentioned infrastructure like you. They also mentioned the need for better coordination in terms of emergency management. So how our own firefighters and police officers can support them and vice versa, especially around fire concerns. But they also mentioned U.S. Command. That's great. Where are we going to put those people? So on one hand, that's attention. Where we're going to put our military members, our law enforcement officers, our teachers. On the other hand, we don't have the infrastructure I hear you to keep up with the growth. So that is the difficult work in this season, and that's the work I and our city council members will do on your behalf, and to live in attention. And there will be some decisions you go, yes, we love Mayor Yemi, and other times you might go, we don't like it. But know that I am not beholden to anybody beyond the future of our city, the decisions that are best for you and me. I want my kids to live in this city like your kids. I want your grandkids to have an incredible quality of life. And that is the heart of the questions that you guys are asking. And this leader who carries great empathy hears you, and will do our best to make the best decisions for your families and your neighborhood. We're committed. It's why a lot of my team members are here tonight. They don't have to be, but they want to hear the same things that I'm hearing. So thank you again for your feedback. Again, what I'm going to do with this information, we do, any pressing issues that we can respond to right away, we will respond to. Most of these things that you're sharing with us will feed into the long-term strategic planning process that has kicked off. Thank you, Courtney. And we should have that done by spring of next year. And we'll deliver that to you. Again, I'm going to end with this and pass it on to my colleagues. One of the questions we asked at our city council mayor's retreat was, what kind of city do we want to be in the next 30 to 50 years? And that's the place we have to start, and then work our way back. Know that none of us want to disrupt your quality of life. And we will continue to try and make those decisions that are best for all of us. Randy? And by the way, it's Randy's birthday.
All right, from a city council perspective, I'll address a couple of the issues. We're in sync with the mayor on public safety. So I'll address that first, and then I'll address a couple of the land issues. Public safety. We have 818 sworn officer slots. We have roughly 740 to 750 in those positions right now. So, and that's including the ones, the 40 that are in the academy right now. So how do we get to the 818? And how do we get to reduce the response times that will reduce our crime in our wonderful city? The way we do that, one of the ways, is by we're increasing the number of classes at the Police Academy Training Center. Up until a year ago, we were doing roughly one class a year. Then we've gone to 2 classes a year. Now we want to go, starting this year, to 3 classes a year, roughly 15 weeks each. To do that, and if you got roughly 40 candidates in each class, so in that calendar year, you'll graduate roughly 120. We're losing between 70 and 80 a year through retirements and those leaving to do something else. So even if we go to the 3 classes a year and graduate approximately 120 a year, it's going to take 2 years to get back up to get to 818 sworn officers. Well, how do we do that? Well, we just said we need to do it through 3 classes a year in the Police Training Academy. As good as the Police Training Academy is, that's the infrastructure that needs to be replaced. And that's what we want to do to support our police. We want to increase the number of classes, but to do that, we've got to have bigger facilities to do that. And the city has planned that, and the city council is in support of moving forward with that. So that is to answer your questions about police and public safety. Some of the land use issues, the hardest thing for me to do is not to be at some of these events that are talking specifically, in this case, about Royal Pines. Why is that? Just so you know, before the developer filed his application and stuff, I went out to the area at Pine Creek, which obviously isn't far from here, and I was with Steve Parrish, and 2 others, and we walked the whole area. And of course I listened to them. And the problem I have, along with my fellow council members, we're under a law, state statutes, that puts us in a quasi-judicial area, which is kind of crazy, but it means that we can't either voice an opinion for or an opinion against that issue until it comes before us, the city council. I don't like it, my fellow city council members don't like it, but that is the law. And so to answer the questions about why me or others can't be at these, that's exactly why. It's called quasi-judicial. And to change that, you have to change the Colorado statute on that. Again, I don't like it, but that's the law in that particular issue. So, public safety, infrastructure, we're in sync with the mayor on trying to make our city better. And with that, I think that's it.
We don't really have time. 30 seconds? 30 seconds. Starting now.
Well, my big issue, if you voted for me, you know, is mental health. And it's great to hear from a lot of your tables the importance of what that is for our community. I want to say that we're going to meet Friday and actually dive deep into the subject and kind of look at some initiatives that I've kind of put together. I'll tell you one that I think we mutually agree on, it's a fun one to talk about, is we're going to try to pull off 1,000 block parties in one weekend for the entire community. So we'll see if we can do it. We're going to need all of you to support it. So just to get engagement in our community.
Time's up. I just wanted to thank all of you for coming this evening. As the mayor said, I absolutely sense and understand your frustration. And I want you to know that we are listening to your concerns. One of the things that we talked a lot about tonight is infrastructure. And one of the solutions that the mayor has put forward is to stand up an infrastructure solutions team. And that group actually met earlier today. And we're looking at all the issues that you're talking about. We're looking at how can we get ahead of growth, how can we get ahead of some of the public emergency egress issues that you're facing. So please know we're listening to you.
Thank you.
One of the reasons why I timed it is so that you guys would have a chance to speak again with each other, meet people from other tables, and really continue this conversation. We've got Kono here this evening that's want to say 30 seconds of a word about what they do and how they can help continue your engagement and your activity around the issues that you're most passionate about. Then after that, there'll be an opportunity for you to speak with a councilman or two or three, or have a bit of time with the mayor. And then we need to respect our facility and move on out. However, if you still want to talk more about these issues, get my card. It's one or a few at every table. You can also take the survey and contribute more feedback. Leave the table with all the things that you wrote on so that I can collect them all and create feedback summaries by this district.
I will try to be as brief as possible. I work for a nonprofit called Kono. We're really here to help elevate voices. And what I mean by that is we have a course, a free 10-week course called Neighborhood University. So if you are wanting to continue these types of conversations, learn more about city planning, about development, Colorado Springs utilities, other neighborhood leaders who are currently doing advocacy work, that is the place to go. I'll be over here at this table. It's a free course. We'd love to have you all. We're currently accepting enrollment for our fall class. We do it twice a year. We'd love to have you all there. I appreciate it.